have that meme. Make your own kind of music. It's stuck in my head, like playing. At least I'm not thinking about walruses. Okay, anyway, go.
I'm not thinking about walruses either.
Hey everyone, I'm Allison.
I'm Bryce.
And we're Better Half Reviews. And we are finally getting around to doing our top 10 list for the year 2022. And the way that we're doing it is we're doing new to us games. So some of these would be games from 2022, and some of them might be a little bit older. So let's see what the winners are. Do you want to start?
Sure, I'll go first.
All right.
So my number 10, I was trying to think if we should talk about methodology, but I guess it's just based on how much I liked it. So not really much methodology going into that. Anyway, so my number 10 is Pendulum. This is a pretty fun game. It uses, what are they called? Timers.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Little
timers.
sand timers to keep track of rounds and stuff, essentially. And when the timers are all finished, a certain number of times, the round is over. It's kind of a fun game. It's different. I really like it just because it is different, and the gameplay is kind of interesting and weird and not like anything else I've played. So that's Pendulum.
All right. Good pick.
It's not really a real-time game, though, even though there's timers. I know people were bagging on it because it's like, oh, it's real-time. Well,
yeah.
Not like other real-time games that I've played.
All right, so my number 10 is a small box game, and it's one that I had heard about, and it kind of went under the radar when it came out. I think it came out maybe in 2020. I could be wrong. But it's a small game, and it feels like it packs a hard punch, where it has a rondel system and dice, and you're also building up some cathedrals, and that is Red Cathedral. I really enjoyed it. It reminded me a little bit about Viscounts of the West Kingdom, which is another rondel game that I really like. But yeah, I was just really surprised. It was very enjoyable, and I liked that it felt like a decently big game without tons of overthinking and didn't take up tons of table space. So I really liked it, and we bought the expansion. I'm excited to try that sometime soon.
Yeah, we haven't tried it yet.
Yeah.
I was fact-checking you. I'm actually really impressed you knew that was from 2020.
Thank you. I think I heard it on some other YouTube channel once, a year ago.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, number 9.
Number 9. So my number 9 is sitting right here in front of me.
Surprise!
Surprise! It is 10 Penny Parks. We haven't had an opportunity to play it too much, so that's why it was higher on my list. And we have a similar game that I've played a couple more times that I like also, that's on my list.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you what it was, but never mind, I won't.
So, just because we played that one a little bit more, that one made the higher on my list. But anyway, so 10 Penny Parks. It's an interesting game. You're building out a little theme park.
Vincent Dutrait art.
What she said. And it's fun.
Yeah, it's
Do you
pretty.
need this one?
No.
Okay, I knew that.
Alright, so my number 9 is a even smaller box game. And it's one that we played with some different friends, and I loved it immediately, and I really wanted to buy it, and it was always out of stock, and so we finally got it. And that is Scout. It's just a small trick-taking game, but what makes it unique is that your cards, if you have them one way, it'll have numbers, but if you flip them over, they'll have different numbers. And the way that you pick up your cards and the order that they're in, you can't change that order as you go, because usually when you're playing trick-taking games or other card games, you're always moving cards around and stuff. You're stuck with how they are, how they fan them out, so you have to decide if you want to have them this way or that way, and then you go around doing the tricks. And it's just fun. I don't know. It's a great game that I would easily take anywhere or show to family and stuff.
It's kind of weird when you're first learning it, but it's actually pretty simple once you do.
Yeah. And I like it. And plus it's got purple on it. Anyway, that's my number 9.
So my number 8 is a game we don't own currently. We've almost bought it, but we have played at a friend's game shop.
Yes.
This is where we first played it, and that is Seven Wonders Duel. That was the first time playing any of the Seven Wonders games, so it was really interesting, and I really liked, in Duel at least, you have the pyramid of cards, and you're, um, some of them you know what they are, some of you don't, and you're trying to figure out which ones to take, and
It's where like every other row is flipped over, right?
well, it kind of depends on the round, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
But you're trying to figure out which ones to take to force your opponent to take like certain other cards, and you're trying to score more points. It's an interesting little puzzle. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, that's one that I'd heard about a ton. Like on Dice Tower, they talked about it for years. Seven Wonders Duel and Seven Wonders. And I'm like, okay, that's nice. And I felt like it was one of those gateway games where I'm like, well, it's kind of too late. I'm good. And then we tried it, and it's like, oh, this is actually a good game. Okay, yeah. It didn't make my list though, but it's good. So my number 8 is a tile laying game and kind of set collection, I would say, or goal cards. And it's one that is very popular, and everybody was talking about it all the time. And we got sent a copy, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll try it. And
well, so we didn't feel like we needed to try it.
Yeah,
because we had 2 other games that were very similar that came out earlier.
Yeah, but then we tried it, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is a solid game, and that is Cascadia. So I was a big fan of Calico by the same people, and I was like, well, I probably don't need both. It's fine. And I liked this one because in Calico, you were very stuck in your very adorable, cute, soft-looking frame of quilting. But it was very like, oh! In this game, you're doing kind of the same thing, but you're free on how you can place things and the different gold cards that are available. So this felt a little bit more like, more chill, more relaxing, and less like, oh shoot, what do I do?
Less cramped. I mean, I see positives and negatives for both of them.
Oh no, yeah.
They're very similar, but they're also very different.
Yeah. And I'm also partial to the cascades, so it was kind of nice to have that in the background. Yeah.
I miss Washington.
I know. Anyway.
So, my number 7, I already sort of introduced a little bit, but this game is similar to Tenpenny Parks in that you're kind of building an engine during the game, but it has a different theme, and that theme is factories. So this is Fantastic Factories. Again, you're kind of building like your own little engine, your own little tableau, I guess. I'm not sure exactly what to call it.
And dice placement.
And placing dice to do actions, and it's just fun to like build up this engine that just grows with, every round, and then all of a sudden you're just like, I'm doing 50 different things and getting all these extra resources
and some of the things you're building in there are just kind of like funny or silly.
Yeah, I like the artwork on that. Like...
Yeah, we played that with Tabletop Mom and Tabletop Tim. He had to change the name, but yeah, that's a fun one. It didn't make my list, but it's good. So my number 7 is our first crossover. I kind of want to put that in like every time we have a crossover now. I might.
Okay.
If I take the effort. If it's too much effort, you won't see it. And it's a game that I feel like is very underrated for what it was. It got a lot of hate when it came out because people were like, oh, real-time game. But like Bryce said, it's different. It's Pendulum. And it does have a real-time aspect to it, but like you said, like, oh, when the timers run out, kind of the round changes. But you're the ones who are in charge of the timers. So you kind of control. Yeah, you control when you start them. And kind of you can sort of control when the round ends. And I like that it's up to the players. And it's a very intriguing game with where you place your meeples and how you're collecting different items or resources and spending them to do other things. So it's kind of like a cool engine builder with time mechanisms. My downside would be the sand timers don't always work the best. And I kind of want to like use digital timers, but you need like 3 different ones going on with different lengths, so I haven't quite figured that out yet. But I really, really enjoyed it, and I was kind of surprised how much I liked it.
Yeah. So my reason why it wasn't like higher on my list, like as in lower on my list, a lower number, higher. You know what I mean? Is that real time aspect? It seems more like a gateway, and so in most real time games, you're like racing against the clock. In this game, you feel like you're waiting for the clock sometimes.
Sometimes.
And,
Depends on your player count.
And it's that like waiting for it to happen that it's like, okay, come on.
But see, I didn't mind that because that's when I can like and try to plan like what I need to do next. I need a breather. You don't. I do.
Yeah, well, like I'm used to the real time game, so I'm already like I know my next 15 different moves. I'm like, come on, let's go. I'm like sitting here waiting to do it.
And I'm like, what was I gonna do? Oh yeah, that one. See, I need that buffer. Anyway, so Pendulum for my number 7.
So last year we kind of really dove into roll and write games.
Or blank and rights.
Flip and write.
Well, they're not all flips. They're not all rolls. Anyway.
I know. Blank and write games. And we should do like a top 10 blank and writes, but
eventually,
we just haven't done it yet.
Will.
But one of those blank and writes that I really enjoyed is called Three Sisters. It's a gardening theme about pumpkins and corn and beans. And it's just one of those like, I don't know what they're really called.
Combo-tastic.
Combo-tastic? I was going to call them a kitchen sink. Like.
Oh, point salad?
Point salad, yeah. Like roll and write games where you kind of build up this little engine and then all of a sudden by the end of the game you're doing all like 50,000 different things. It's an interesting way to do roll and writes in my opinion, but the other roll and write in my list is kind of more my favorite style of roll and write.
All right.
So that is Three Sisters is my number 6, and that's my first roll and write on the list.
We've got another crossover. So Three Sisters is my number 6 as well. Too bad Three Sisters wasn't number 3 on both our lists. Anyway, so I did enjoy this one. I like what Bryce said. It's like you kind of get things going, and as you're going through the game, like you have 2 different pads that you're working off of. So you're like, oh, I'm gonna cross off this berry, which is gonna give me this, and oh, I filled up this and this. There's a lot of things to just start crossing off, and it's fun. It probably would have been a little bit higher on my list if I felt like it was a bit easier to keep track of everything. I know there's like a little note section, but like sometimes there's so many combos where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to get back to this and over here. But right now I'm doing this part, so sometimes I would forget some of the things I could be crossing off or earning. But it is a lot of fun, and there is a solo mode with Farmer Edith, and she's rude. Anyway, so yeah, it's a good game. Three Sisters, number 6.
So my number 5 is a game that we were introduced to last year that was already out, but then we also got to play test some of the expansions for it that were kickstarted last year.
That aren't out yet.
Not quite, but I will just be talking about the base game because the base game itself is still very awesome, and that is Moonrakers. Now, I wasn't sure what to think about this game at first. It's this game where you're trying to like build up your own spaceship and earn victory points to become like this great galaxy explorer type person, but you have to go out and do missions, and the missions are really hard to complete.
Some of them.
Well, most of them are really hard to complete by yourself, and so you have to negotiate with your opponents to have them help you complete the missions.
And divvy up the goods.
Which can include like reputation points, which is what you need to win. And then your negotiation partners, the people that come join you, could sabotage you to make you lose. And it's just it's just a very fun like a negotiating game.
Negotiating.
Sabotaging.
He lied to me multiple times.
But it's very interactive. It was very interesting to play and like build up your ship in interesting ways to help you maybe do some of the harder quests on your own, or I don't know. It's just really fun.
It can be fun. It's better with higher player counts. I would not recommend it for 2-player, 1-player. Not too fun. But like 4 players.
4 players good.
5.
5
up to
would
6?
be pretty good.
Oh yeah, 5. Yeah, 4 or 5 player. I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, I mean it does say 1 to 5.
Yeah, 1 player. 2 player. Unless, well, there's one of their little like freebie expansions I think that you can get online is like a co-op thing, and I think people have really liked that one.
Oh, we haven't tried that.
Yeah.
But Moonrakers, that's my number 5. It's actually a very fun game. Again, I didn't know what to think about it at first, but I really enjoyed it.
Good pick. My number 5 is a game that I got to try last year at Dice Tower West, just before everybody else got their copies. And and I didn't even play like a full game at that moment, and I was like, oh, I love this. And so eventually I got my own copy for Christmas, and it's Paint the Roses. This is a cooperative deduction game, and deduction games aren't always my jam. I like a few, and this was a little bit different because it was like, I don't know, the cooperative sense, and where you have this area that you're putting tiles down, and everybody has their own secret cards of like, oh, okay, like roses, or the symbols around cards, what are those called?
Like spades and
Yeah.
clubs and I don't know what
Suits.
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 Oh,
I'm like, what's
yeah.
that word? So like I could have a card that has like purple and yellow roses, and you could have one that's like double hearts. And I'll put down a tile, and depending on that tile and the ones that are around it, if there's something that matches with what your card is, you're going to put down the number of cubes that create that number of matches. And then you kind of like all talk together and you try to guess one of the people's cards. And you're trying to like race around the board and not get caught by the Queen of Hearts, who will behead you. I really like it. It's fun. And I like the puzzly aspect of like, okay, what is this? So it kind of just feels like colorful and interesting, more Sudoku, but with everybody. I don't know, like the puzzly aspect of like, okay, it can't be this, it can be that.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but I've had a lot of fun, and I've got my head cut off many times.
I think it's a lot of fun. It is a very hard game. I feel like there's always that point in the game, especially towards the end, where it's like, well, all the tiles I have to choose from don't match anything that I have on my card, and I don't have a space to.
Even that can be helpful, where like no one puts a cube down. You're like, okay, then I know that they don't have this, and you have a notepad that you can use to
I mean, it can still be helpful, but it's just like we're at a crucial moment of the game. Let me put this down, and no one does anything, and
you haven't
we all have new cards, and
you haven't experienced it at higher player counts, where that's less likely.
3, I think.
Okay, well, I like, like 4 or 5 is fun. I mean, 2 is interesting. They have a little bit of way to like work around that, so you have some give. But anyway, it's a good one. I like it a lot, and it's pretty.
So my number 4 is my second roll and write on this.
Is it a roll and write?
Well, it's a flip and write.
A blank and write?
Whatever. So it is Metro X. This is a nice little, I was gonna say compact-ish roll and write, where you have a nice little board and flip and write. We have a nice little board and you flip out a card and you choose which color line you want to go on, and you go that number of dots. And it's very simple, yet very challenging to, like, get a high score on and get it done.
And beat your opponents.
Mm-hmm. So I like that type of roll and write more, in my opinion, is where it's just very clean, very simple, yet very hard to, like, master.
Yeah, this one's really easy to teach to people, and it's like, hey, I want to play a quick game. Super fast setup. You're like, here's my board, here's a deck of cards, and have your dry erase marker. Mm-hmm. That's a good one. This was my number 11, I think. It was my honorable mention. Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
You're honorable, Mr. Metro X.
My number 4 is a game that I had been wanting for such a long time because I loved the theme of it and the idea of it, and then I never got to try it. And then they came out with a collector's edition, and
she went all in and got everything.
I went all in. I think I might have even been backer number 1. I was like, I need it all. And then after I got backer number 1, I was like, I can't back out of this. I need it. Anyway, I really liked it. And that is Petrichor. So you're a rain cloud, and you're moving around these tiles. That's your board, and you're trying to do like sort of like area majority and just get different combinations and earn things. And it's just fun. There's tons of different expansion tiles that you can add and mix in. I haven't tried all the different combinations because there's tons of them, but I've really liked playing it, and even though it has like area majority, which isn't always my favorite, it does it really well even with 2-player games. And it's just really pretty, and you have like these cool little 3D stands of floaty clouds with gems and thunder and lightning or whatever. I just love it a lot. So there you go, Petrichor.
So my number 3 is a crossover.
Okay.
It's Scout. For all the it's upside down. For all the reasons Allison said, this is a great game.
Yep.
Short, fun card game, trick taking game. Really interesting how you could flip the cards over, but you have to keep the cards in the order that you received them. So, and you can't reorganize them. So really cool. I like it. It's fun.
And obviously he liked it more than me. What was it, my
By
my 9?
Yeah, by 6 spots.
What? My number 3 is a game that was on my top 10 anticipated list for games of 2022. And it's not a flip and write. It's not a roll and write. It's not even a blank and write. It's a flip and build game.
Flip and build game.
So that's the Guild of Merchant Explorers from AEG. This is a game that people are pretty divided on how it looks and also the title. And even when it was coming out, I couldn't remember the title for the life of me. I'm like, the Guild of something. Anyway, it has kind of a forgettable title, but I like the game. And so you have your own maps, and what you're doing is you're flipping out cards, and based on what those cards are, you're going to be kind of putting out cubes and exploring the map and putting down like little cities or taverns or settlements or whatever. And so you can kind of explore the map a little bit more. And each round you kind of have to start over. So it can be a little bit fiddly, but I do enjoy playing the game, and it plays actually pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. Plays very quickly.
I wish it had a different title, but I like it. The Guild of Merchant Explorers.
So my number 2 is a give me that.
Oh, sorry.
Crossover. Guild of Merchant Explorers. I like the game as well. Like Allison said, it starts off kind of slow as you're just spreading yourself from one little spot. But as you settle different areas of the map, you can start from that area, and it is just easier to build out and reach all different corners of the map towards the end of the game. So it's really interesting how the game progresses, but then restarts, and then progresses a little bit more, and then restarts, and I just enjoy it a lot.
It's one of those games where you're like constantly rewarded. Like you're getting points all the time for little things and things at the end of the round. So it's like, yay, I feel like I'm doing okay.
Yeah, you're like, because I explored this tile, I get some coins, and then I explored this little shipwreck, and I get a treasure, and you're just like, oh yay, points all over the place.
It's a very rewarding game until you like look over and your opponent has like 50 coins or something, and you're like, oh shoot. But it's good, it's fun. My number 2 is a game that I have been wanting for a while. That's a lot of my games. I've been wanting it, and I finally get it.
She sees a game somewhere, and she's like, oh, I want that.
Oh, and I learn about it. Anyway, so this game was like pretty hot on everybody's list for a while, and I tried half a game of it at Dice Tower West, and I was like, okay. It was already out by then.
I know.
And it took me like, I don't know, half a year to convince Bryce, and I was like, you're gonna like this game. And it's a flip and write game.
Yeah.
And that is Hadrian's Wall. This is considered one of the more like crunchy games because it has 2 pads that you can be writing on and lots of different options throughout. But it's surprisingly like not too hard to learn. You can't go for every strategy when you're playing this game. You kind of have to like pick and choose some different things. So it's fun trying some different combinations. And one of the other reasons why I like this one more than like something like Three Sisters is because when you're doing this, you also have meeples and other like resource tokens that you're like gaining physically, and then you're like crossing things off to spend them. And that aspect helps me keep track of what I'm doing better. So I like being able to like, okay, I get a blue and a yellow pawn, put it here. Okay, I'm spending 3 bricks or whatever they're called, and I put them back in the pile. So I like that you're constantly like pulling and giving, and it's easier for me to be like, okay, I can see what I can do. It's just fun to do tons of combinations. It is pretty much a multiplayer solo game, but it's fun. And there's a tiny bit of interaction where you could be giving stuff to people.
Very little.
But I like it. It's really fun.
This would have been an honorable mention for me. My problem with roll and writes in general is that they just whatever. They just feel like they have to keep adding stuff, and so it's like, oh yeah, this is like Three Sisters, and the fact that it's a point salad, like everything but the kitchen sink, kind of throw it all in there, and then they add resources, and so it's
But
just,
I like it.
I mean, yeah, I get the point that like the little cubes and the little meeples and stuff help you remember what you're doing, but it's just like they just keep adding more to it, and it's like I like the simplicity of roll and writes. Like I don't know, to me, roll and writes should be simple, and they just keep like adding more and more and more.
I feel like for the most part they are pretty like simple or streamlined, but I like it. It says the person who wanted Twilight Inscription.
Just because I think
we haven't played it yet.
They keep getting harder and harder doesn't mean I don't want to play them.
All right.
Anyway, so my number one is a fairly new game to me, but it's an I don't want to say old game, but I don't know exactly when it came out, but it's a pretty older game.
I don't know when it came out, but it would be considered an old game.
So, yeah, I'm really disappointed I haven't heard of this. Well, I've heard of it. I hadn't played it before now. And that would be Memoir 44. And I'm pretty much hooked on this game. I first played it on
Board Game Arena.
And fell in love with it. Went out and bought it.
No. Okay, wait, hold up. When we went out and bought it, the store that we went to, Recreation Games, they had like everything Memoir 44, like stacks of.
They literally had all the expansions.
The expansions and other maps. And I left him for a second, and I come back, and he's like, I found what I want. He put everything back and just got the base game. Okay, now you can talk.
Because I wasn't gonna spend like $400 to get everything.
He considered it though.
I did consider it. So yeah, been playing a lot of it on Board Game Arena because it's not quite someone's favorite game.
I haven't even tried it. I'm not big on like
war games.
Like
even kind of lighter.
Dudes on a map game. Because I can't say I'm not into war games because I'm gonna sound like a hypocrite soon. Anyway. You'll understand.
Yeah, you will.
So dudes on a map. Shush. Just anyway.
But anyway, so I've played a lot of different maps on Board Game Arena. I can't wait to teach some of my friends and actually play the physical copy of the game. But yeah, this is Memoir 44. It's probably my new favorite game as of the moment.
Nice. I will try it someday. I think you said you were going to teach it to me on Board Game Arena first because it's a little bit easier.
Yeah, it's a little bit easier just because it like calculates how many dice you need and stuff, so you don't really have to think about that part of it. You just
I like that.
Oh, look, I click on my little guy and it tells me who I can attack and how many dice I can attack with.
All right.
It's a little bit easier on Board Game Arena.
So, look for a video maybe next year and you'll find out how I felt about it. All right, so moving on to my number one. I feel like anyone who has been following us for a while or on Instagram probably can guess what my number one game is.
And no, it's not Everdell because we played it before.
Yeah, if you're surprised by any games that are not on our list, it's probably because we've played it before or we just straight up didn't get around to playing it in 2022. So, my number one game is Wonderland's War from Druid City Games. I loved it before I even played it. And it's one of those games where when I was like learning about it, and you know how like you can watch reviews and playthroughs. I don't really watch too many playthroughs for that game. Like I could not get enough of watching the playthroughs. I'm like, I'm gonna love this game. Look, oh, this is so fun to watch, and it's even more fun to play. I like the look of it. I love the theme. I love that it's bag building where it's kind of like Quacks, but it has more game to it because you have the first half of the round where you're going around the tea party And you're collecting different cards which help you build up your bag or get quest cards. And everybody has asymmetric powers. And as you go throughout the game, you can move tokens or whatever. What do they call them? Yeah, tokens. Into your bag and upgrade abilities. It's just fun. I love it a lot. And it's going to stay in our collection forever.
And if you want to learn my feelings about the game, stay tuned for our next video.
What? What's our next video?
It's gonna be the like
best of. Yeah.
So.
Oh no, you didn't.
So.
I know what he did. Oh, that's rude. James, if you're watching these videos, James Hudson, he's the guy who owns Druid City Games. Don't pay attention to what he says on that next video. Pay attention to what I say. Anyway, so I really love Wonderland's War. It's tons of fun. There are some new player boards that are coming out with some slightly adjusted abilities, which I think will make the game a little bit better. And
hopefully.
Yeah, but it's by Tim Eisner, and we got to meet him and play the game with him.
I'm sorry, Tim.
I creamed him at the game, but yeah.
You're a really nice person, Tim.
He is. He's super cool.
Yeah, he is really cool. He's a really cool guy.
But anyway, so yeah, Wonderland's War is great. Despite what Bryce is saying.
So like and subscribe if you want to see my opinions in our next video. Because, as you can tell, it wasn't on my list.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm pretty sure I know which category you put it under. Well, you're not going to be happy with what game I put under that category either.
That's fine. I mean, to each their own. Everybody has their own opinions.
Anyway, so yeah, that's our top 10 list of games new to us in 2022. If you're surprised that I didn't put the game Oros on there, I've played it before, and I also haven't played it since we got the Kickstarter version.
Yeah, we play tested it a long time ago.
Yeah, and I played it many times.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, and like stuff like Endless Winter, everybody's talking about that. We haven't played it yet. We got it this year?
Yeah, we got it just a couple weeks ago, or maybe a month ago.
Yeah, so we're a little bit behind, but there's obviously tons of games that came out, and I feel like we played a good amount. A lot of mine were like flipping right, rolling right. Things that were just kind of easier to table with the busy year that we had.
Yeah, we had a very busy year with the move and stuff like that, which I think kind of limited some of the new games, especially towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
Because we actually had a lot of crossover, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Probably a lot more than we otherwise would have had we played just a few more games.
Yeah, we didn't play as many games as we thought we would because of moving and then other things that happened that put off playing games for basically like half the year.
Like 4 or 5 months, yeah.
Yeah, it was a good amount. But anyway, lots of good games. What was some of your like favorite games of 2022 that you played, whether it came out in that year or if it was a new to you? Are you playing Board Game Arena? We're playing Board Game Arena.
We're on there a lot, actually.
Yeah.
I have like 5 games or 6 games going at the moment.
Yeah, I recommend checking out. If you don't really have time for physical board games, Board Game Arena is a good option. And you can play the free thing, and you can play games with us. I'll put our usernames in the description down below if you want to play some games with us.
Yeah.
We're not affiliated with Board Game Arena at all. We just like playing games. All right. So hopefully you enjoyed our top 10 list and random bantering back and forth. I'm Allison.
I'm Bryce. And we're Better Half Reviews.
Happy gaming.
Have fun.
And enjoy Wonderland's War.
What category do you think I put it in?
A category it does not belong in.
You ready?
Yes. I did hit start, right?
I don't know.
I'm just gonna go check now. Oh, my ankle. My cankle.
Okay.
Can you speak whale? I'm gonna do that again because I'm thinking about walruses. Can I make a game about walruses? That was cute. Make your own kind of music. It's stuck in my head like